My guest this week is Matt McAllister, founder and CEO of Mortgage Propeller. Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast with me, Craig Skelton. Join me every week where I'll be helping you develop a successful mortgage broker business. So my guest this week is Matt McAllister, founder and CEO of Mortgage Propeller, and I'll be asking him, what is Mortgage Propeller? Why did he set up Mortgage Propeller? And who is Mortgage Propeller aimed at? So welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Hi, Craig. Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Thank you very much. And it's great to have you as a guest on the podcast, Matt, and get into detail about what's happening with Mortgage Propeller, look at what you've been doing and sort of trying to shake up the industry. So it's great to finally get you on as a guest, and exciting times ahead. I know we've sort of had a few conversations before the podcast and over the past few weeks about Mortgage Propeller. So there is some really good and exciting stuff that's going to shake up the mortgage broking world. Fingers crossed if everything goes to plan. So first of all, do you want to just give us a bit of a background about yourself? Who is Matt McAllister? What you're about? What are you doing, and why really?
That'll help explain what Mortgage Propeller is and how this all came about. So I'm Matt McAllister. I'm from Northern Ireland and founder and CEO of Mortgage Propeller. My background, for nearly my career, was I was a derivatives trader, so working for myself. So one of those guys with a stripy jacket, roaring and shouting with their fingers pointing in the air. Well, that's what I thought it was going to be when I was a kid, but actually by the time I left university, that had all went online. So you were actually trading at screens. So I would have traded in London, Chicago, Germany, the DAX, Swiss. So that's what I did for a living every day in front of a bank of screens for myself. And much like a broker, whatever I made, I got to keep, but if I didn't make anything, I didn't get anything, no paychecks or anything like that. So I did that for most of my career. Fancying a change, when kids and family were coming along, I went and did an MBA. And out of the MBA, I joined a very early stage fintech startup. It was called SureHedge, and we were really at the start. I didn't really know what fintechs and startups in this world was, but I bumped into a guy that I used to trade with, and I ended up joining their firm. And this really opened my eyes to what was happening in the world. I saw 10 firms in what was known as an accelerator, and really hungry people with a wide range of ideas. I just happened to be in fintech, but there was people in med tech, e-commerce, all this sort of stuff that were getting support and mentorship and getting investment from venture capitalists to go and pursue an idea. And I suppose right at the start, I was bitten by that. I was like, oh my goodness, there's all this support out here if you're innovative. And so I stayed with the SureHedge for a couple of years. We went through FCA Sandbox. We got investment. We brought a product to market, and the SureHedge was about hedging your FX risk for companies that do business overseas and they get exposed to currency. And it was around the time of Brexit, so it was very poignant. And that was it. Where Mortgage Propeller came from was after the crash in 2008, house prices in Northern Ireland absolutely collapsed through the floor. The fastest fall in history when I looked it up and researched it. And I was very curious. I didn't know anything about property, but houses have to be worth something. I just couldn't believe how low the price was going. Like, at some point it cost something to build a house. So anyway, in my genius moment, I went and bought a house with a credit card in an online auction. I was short of money at the time, and that's a story for another podcast.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to say that is another podcast right there.
That's over a pint, maybe, with nobody listening. But I thought I could get a mortgage and pay the credit card. And as you know, when you max out and destroy your credit rating, you can't get a mortgage really. And also, taken into the time, there was no products. So now I had bought this house. I've maxed out my credit cards and I can't get a mortgage to pay it off. And it took nearly 2 years to get a mortgage. So I learned an awful lot about the process as a consumer who knew nothing. What's involved. I spoke to a lot of brokers. I spoke to a lot of lenders. I did everything I could. And when the credit rating, the interest rate rolled over at the end of the introductory period, I was under extreme pressure. I had to deliver. Finally, I got it out. So I learned a lot about that. Fast forward 8 years, and me and my wife went for a mortgage, and it was the exact same process as nearly a decade earlier. Get bank statements, get your credit rating, complete an application, lots of paperwork and scanning and IDs, and this went on, and we actually didn't. We lost that house. We didn't get the mortgage. It fell through in the time period, and I was really annoyed at this time. And so because I had been in the fintech, I was like, "You're telling me nothing's changed in a decade?" Tesla's, sending people to the moon and all this sort of stuff. There had to be a better way. So I just, out of curiosity, I started looking online. I checked America, Canada, Germany, and I seen all these other online solutions. And I seen Rocket Mortgage in America. And I did their fact find online out of curiosity. And I went, oh, this is changing. And I also knew open banking was coming in because it was in the FCA sandbox at the time. I was like, there's going to be a change in this industry. And so now I knew about property, I knew about startups, I knew about open banking. I was like, there's going to be something here. So I started looking into it. And that ultimately led to Mortgage Propeller. But it all started with that credit card and that experience. And that's sort of my background, as from being a trader to ending up, being a startup CEO and founder.
Wow, what a journey! And you now, obviously, we had a quick conversation before the podcast. And you're currently studying your CMAP. CMAP 1 started.
Well, yeah. So, oh my God, I'm just looking at the two books here. They're awful. I've looked through them. I've read them. I actually was going to be taking the first one tonight, and I grabbed it on Friday night. I was like, okay, I'll just do a good weekend here, and I'll pass this regulation one on Monday. And I went, I'm never passing this on Monday. So I did a practice test and I got like 55. And I went, that's not going to help me. So I was like, I postponed. I said, I'll do them another month or two. But I've got the equivalent of the CMAPs in the Republic of Ireland because I tested this out, the equivalent of what Mortgage Propeller I thought might have been a couple of years ago. But it's quite abundance here. Interesting thing, in the Republic of Ireland, the equivalent of CMAP has a 50% pass rate. And it's not split into different units. So it's much easier. Maybe that's why the Republic of Ireland mortgage market is so badly set up.
Yeah, that's a hint and tip for the podcast: how to get your CMAP qualification quicker and easier. Just go get yourself over to Ireland and get it done.
But it's not a different market. I don't think the FCA would accept it, but it gives me a decent understanding there, but there's just quite a lot to take it in the CMAT. So, but my thought was, if Mortgage Propeller, which we'll talk about in a second, I thought it would be useful as a founder to know the insights and feel the difficulties that brokers have and their journey, and especially with regard to compliance and what's expected. So that was why I thought it would be important. Not much point in having a broker platform if you don't know everything that a broker has to do in their lives,
Yeah, exactly. No, great point. Right, Con, we've talked enough about you and your qualifications and your journey. So what is Mortgage Propeller?
So Mortgage Propeller is a fintech platform for brokers and borrowers. So it's basically, my initial thought this would be like a marketplace. So the broker has a secure login, a borrower has a secure login, and they connect. Now, that's at very high levels. So currently it's a tech platform, but our intention is to become a digital network. That's not what I thought when I saw, the competitors across the world and their solutions. I initially thought that this should be, Mortgage Propeller would be an online digital broker. But my co-founder, Paul, who when me and him first started talking about this about nearly 18 months ago, he was like, no, you've got it wrong. The brokers are king. The brokers have all the clients. The brokers are great at their jobs, but the problem is compliance and lead generation. It kills them. It reduces their capacity. It's really the crux. And when I started doing research and I would walk into brokers' offices pre-pandemic and I see thank you cards and flowers, I immediately went, no, the brokers, they just need the tools. And that's what my co-founder Paul was saying. Look, if you give them the tools of all the things that you're talking about from your background, you would be on to something. So that's what we are. That's what we hope to be in the future, as a digital network. And I think the pandemic really helped us. We launched Mortgage Propeller like during the pandemic. For a number of reasons, it ended up being that way. And because everybody's doing everything online, it wasn't the end of the world. didn't have to be face-to-face. And so we just happened to be coming up with an online solution. And that's what really got us the momentum. And so we're live since January. We're on a pilot phase. We've got 25, I think it's 25 brokers. It might be more. We have 17 firms from across the UK, and probably had 500-600 borrower registrations. And I don't know, I need to check the stats, but we're probably at about 20 million of registrations. And basically, Mortgage Propeller makes it very easy for clients to complete the fact find, communicate with their broker, make payments if the broker charges payments. And for the broker, what it does is it takes a lot of the compliance off their plate. So, my starting point when I walked into those brokers' offices was, what happens if I walk in? How does this start? Tell me every single thing you do. And so I learned, well, we'll have to go through the compliance documents. Okay, well, I don't know. Tell me what a compliance document is, and you've got to explain your lenders, your do an illustration, your right to complain. I was like, and you do this every time? Yes. Where does it live at in the office? It lives over there, or else I print it out. So you print it out? How long does that take? Print it out for me. And so all the time that I looked at, I tried to shorten the time that a broker spends. And that's how everything that Mortgage Propeller has been thought of, is what would save time, what would increase compliance, what would give a better audit trail. And so it's more so, it's evolved. It's more so for the brokers. Yes, the clients get to do it, and clients are getting used to doing mortgages on their mobile phone. 80% of the fact finds are done on their mobile phone. We can see that. But it's more for the brokers, for compliance, for lead generation. And in the future, because we know things are coming with open banking, there's going to be you'll be very surprised, I think, in 5 years' time, how business is done now to how it will be done. And even brokers think, no, I'll just keep doing this the way I like to do it. It's inevitably going to change, and we want to be a part of that. So we just did the first bit, and we're sort of going to automate over time to try and make brokers' lives easier.
That sounds exciting stuff. And I think any broker that's listening, to make their life easier, I think we've had a conversation before, and I've had a conversation with quite a few people, that my viewpoint on the world of mortgage broking at the moment is that all the data that's needed for a mortgage broker to do the job is out there somewhere, whether that's with Barclays bank statements, or with the utilities, or with Experian, or whoever. The data that the broker needs to do their job is actually already there. So bank statements, pay slips, all those sorts of things, you can get, somebody has that information already. So I think it's interesting to sort of see how, it's very exciting to see how it's going to sort of transpose over the next sort of 5 years. Absolutely. But I think you're absolutely right, Matt. There's just a bit of a antiquated way of doing things with regards to the compliance and obtaining data from clients, especially. So it is, you can clearly see that there's futures, because you've come into this without the sort of baggage really of mortgage broking for years, and this is how we've always done it. You've sort of come into the industry and looked at it and thought, there's got to be a better way than this, from your personal experience as well. So it's not as though you're just talking about it and not experienced it. You've sort of been through the whole process as well from that point of view. So I know you sort of alluded to it a little bit, but what was the whole purpose for creating Mortgage Propeller?
So, I did it, went through to learn. It was difficult 10 years ago. Then we went for our mortgage a couple of years ago, and we lost that mortgage. It was a remortgage actually, and we missed it, and it led to a lot of financial stress. But my wife was very upset at that. Very upset. And I watched it and I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? That it's, because what it was, and we used to use this phrase, just one more thing. The broker would come back, we just need one more thing, one more document. And then he fell off the edge of the planet. And I know that it couldn't be that way. I've seen a tremendous innovation in every area when I was in the startup world, in all sorts of things. And yet this was still coming down to documents, like documents to prove something, a letter from your accountant, because I was self-employed at the time, for this, and it was amazing. And I was like, no, and it was annoying me and it was upsetting me. And I remember thinking, if I ever get a chance to fix this, I would give it a go. And that was the start of it. And I didn't know about networks. I didn't know about, the broker world. I just thought that the consumer should be able to do this online. But when I looked into it, The reason why things is really difficult is compliance. That's and getting the right information to a bank. And as you said, everything is out there. And it's funny, Microsoft just bought a company called Nuance, which has perfected using AI transcribing communication between two people. Now, it's originally for medical records, but
Right.
you apply that to the industry for advice, and you've just taken care and provided pristine compliance. There's another company called, I think it's Oculus. It sounds like the headset for AR, but it's not. And they have 98% correct reading of PDF documents. They are massive in America. Forbes is 500 fastest growing companies. You can see that these things are coming in to the industry, and when brokers have those tools at their fingertips, they're going to get better at their job, and it's going to get faster. And the anxiety that a consumer feels waiting to know, am I going to get my mortgage? Did they read that document? All that's going to go. And that was my motivation at the start, but you're absolutely right. When you don't have any baggage, you're seeing things and saying, well, why can't that be done like that? And compliance, yeah, but I know that you can do it this way, which would be better. But it's difficult when you're a big oil tanker to turn around, so that's why we've got a real chance of giving it a go.
I think that's it. I think any change within financial services and the financial service industry is like a tanker. It always will be, because of the rules and the red tape and the regulation that we have to go through. And understandably, that is there to protect the brokers, to protect the advisors, to protect the clients and the firms. I get all that, but like you say, I'm sure with all those little bits of just those little tweaks and things that make things easier. Like whenever I speak to a mortgage broker, the one thing that frustrates them is getting the documents. That is the big thing. They'll ask a client for the 3-month bank statements. Why do you need that? Why does the underwriter need that? Why? And then can take days, it can take weeks to get those documents. The same with the pay slips. Again, it's the same thing with every single document. We get some clients that are absolutely spot on with it and get an instant reaction, but you get a lot that just because people are busy lives, people are still trying to deal with everything else that's going on in their own world, and it's just trying to drop in those things and thinking about, I need to get my mortgage sorted out. It's important. It's not always the sort of their priority when we know that it is, because it's our priority, because we want to get that case done and get the case submitted, and that we want to get that underwriter the documents they need so they can get that case checked and done. So I'm going to ask you a question about, probably you've again led to it already, because it's about understanding who benefits from this, but the clients benefit and the brokers benefit, Matt. That's what you're saying.
Well, I think if you're curious, go look up. There's an article written in 2017 in America. There's a venture capital company called Anderson Horowitz, early investors in Facebook. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he wrote they call it mortgage tech over there. It's been, they're much further ahead than we are, but he wrote an article that brokers' capacity should go up by a factor of 10. So in the US in 2017, with the amount of brokers, the average was 2 mortgages per month written. They get much larger commissions, and he was saying that he felt that in about 6 years it would become 20 mortgage per month on average, and the potential for 90% of jobs to be lost. Now we're in 21, 22 now. He's clearly wrong, but perhaps in the next 5, 6, 7 years they might approach that. What I think will happen is that the weaker brokers will get removed from the industry, and I think that's the way it should be. And it's maybe not a nice thing to say, but when I go back 10 years ago, like I must have applied for about 35 mortgages in my life. There's no exaggeration. And I've probably went through 30 different types of broker stroke lenders. And the weaker ones who don't respond, who don't work as hard as others, the market will generally force them out when their capacity increases. If you think in your own firm there, off the top of your head, you probably see brokers that are a little bit more hungry, maybe work a little bit harder, and it's just general, and that that was very evident in the trading world. Well, when that person can now do 10 mortgages in a month as easy as he could do 7, or he doesn't need to hire an extra admin support staff to help him get to 10 or get to 12. Well, he will do 10 or 12, and the only thing stopping him is the lead generation. And if he does 10 or 12 and he's really, really good and he's loved by his borrowers, they're going to refer more to him, and he's got the capacity. And what I think will happen in due course, it feels like it's inevitable. I think there's 40,000 brokers in the UK, or thereabouts. That'll probably end up becoming 20 22,000 if all things stay equal, and never mind the economy. And I think that is where the consumer benefits. They'll get a better broker, probably because the brokers are doing more business. Fees will reduce and almost become zero. The market will force that. There's big digital competitors that have charged no fees, and so that's what I think will happen. That's my prediction from what I've seen. It's in every other industry, but it never happened in our world, because a broker dominates his local town, because he gets the referrals in the local town. But what happens when, 2 cities over, there's an amazing broker that can do everything online efficiently with a mobile phone, and he's revered, he charges no fees. The person in the town that usually goes to the broker on the high street, he'll probably find that person 2 cities over, and the business will start going that way. That's what I think will happen.
I think you're absolutely right with the capacity of a mortgage broker of going from 8 to 10, 8 to 12. You'll find that the brokers that can do with the same amount of blood, sweat and tears, the ones that are having the work-life balance and juggling other like single parents, family commitments and things like that have gone self-employed, who do sort of 4, 6 mortgages month in, month out, they'll be able to do the 8 to 10 because they won't be chasing the tail as much as what they do right now with regarding getting documents out. So I think, like I said, things will become smarter and easier for everybody. I think it's not, you hit the nail on the head, it's about, it benefits the client and it also benefits the broker as well. With the clients, it's just you get things right from the start. The broker gets things right from the start. The documents is easier to obtain. And I think then it's just going to be a case of doing more business. And going back to lead generation, I think it's a great point that mortgage brokers will always need to generate leads. That's what they do, but they will have more time and effort to do that. So social media branding, we were talking before about content and personal branding and doing all those sorts of things. So I think if the brokers have got more time to do that because they're working smarter being a mortgage broker, I think the cream will come to the top. And also as well, you're right about the mortgage broker industry reducing, because I think it is not so much the mortgage broking, but the financial advisor world is an aging population anyway. So it's great to see that there's new blood coming through. And people know, if they've listened to my other podcasts and know me as a person, it's all about bringing new, inexperienced people into the industry that look to change it up and look to do things a different way. And we all see that so there is an aging population of mortgage advisors, financial advisors that will retire within the next 5 years, because they're struggling to keep up now with the world as the change as now, and this to them is a different job altogether. But what a great opportunity for the new brokers that are coming through that do want to shake up the industry. It's an exciting time. It can only benefit everybody.
And I suppose there's where Mortgage Propeller should look to fit in. Those new blood coming through, just like you were saying about you guys and the personal brand. Those new guys coming through need help getting leads. They don't have client banks, and so they'll probably be very good at social media. They probably grew up in it, and if you're one of these platforms or you're a firm like yourselves that's proven to generate traffic, this is really pushing towards e-commerce and inbound marketing, then you're going to be attractive for this new blood coming through, and that's, they're going to find somewhere, and it's going to be those firms that can help them with that, or have got can say, look, we've got the term in e-commerce is predictable future recurring revenue, and that all comes to traffic and retention on sites, and and that's why you create contact, that's why you build your brand, and you can see the traffic coming through, and then you've gotten your conversion, and that should be attractive for them.
No, definitely. So when you got to just stripping it back, just before we wrap up, Matt, just to strip it back from a process point of view, from a client journey to then a broker journey with it, how does this start? So if I'm explaining myself correctly, just to sort of then go, right, how does somebody hits the Mortgage Propeller website? So I'm a client looking for a mortgage broker. I will come across Mortgage Propeller on a website. So you're doing Facebook ads. That's your main target of campaign, isn't it? If I'm right with that.
Yeah, so that was to prove that it would work, because you want to get people to your site quickly. So is this going to work? Is anybody going to actually get a mortgage out of this? So the first thing is we ran online ads to attract people to the site. Brokers also invite their clients in. So that's something that I'm pretty happy to see. So that's clearly working, because the compliance is done instantly. So this is probably the best way to see it, because this is a broker audience for your podcast. You come in tomorrow morning. Well, if you come in this morning, you would have opened up your dashboard of Mortgage Propeller, and you will find a handful, if it depended on how busy the weekend was, a handful of borrowers that are sitting with the fact find maybe 50% completed, maybe 100% completed, and they've completed their compliance documents. They've already went through your, your illustrations and your lender files, because that's one of the way we onboard. So somebody found the website, they read it through and they went, okay, they registered, they completed their fact find. Once they've done enough of their fact find, they get connected to a broker in the area. So in Scotland, you'll get a Scottish broker. In England, you'll get the next English broker. In Wales, same in Northern Ireland. And then they get to choose, or currently it goes who's next for the pilot, who's next up. They see your compliance documents, your profile, and if they want to connect with you, they will. And that connects them. They've completed their compliance. They've read and agreed the GDPR. And so that's them connected to one of, say, you, Craig. You come in the morning, you can see, okay, I've got a borrower here. It's completed the fact find. I'll give them a call. And that's the part where we're different. We want to put the broker at the forefront, because we think that personal touch is really important. But what it does allow is that on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock, a borrower who's at home, especially during lockdown, can get their application going, can get their fact find, complete supporting documents, complete the compliance, and then on a Monday morning, or ideally some of our brokers who do it, will contact them on a Sunday, give them a ring, just do a quick, the usual stuff that you guys do. And they were like, okay, well, let's get your fact find complete and get your application, get your decision in principle. So what it does there is it saves the time in terms of lead generation. It completes the compliance. It allows a borrower not to have to wait anxiously for a broker appointment, or wait for the broker to get back from it. It all happens very, very fast. And from our point of view, the pilot to test this here was, we wanted to see which brokers respond quickly. Not all brokers are equal. I just said that there's a broker that will respond on a Sunday at 9 a.m., send a quick text, we'll give them a ring, we'll leave a voice message. And then there's other brokers that will get back to that borrower on a Tuesday. And that's very clear. It's not something I expected. When you think that you've provided a broker with a lead, a fact find completed, and they take 48 hours to respond, you're like, that's the person that's going to get pushed out in due course, Mm-hmm. So that was what we wanted to prove, and that's why we did the ads, to get people to the platform. Now we're cutting back on the ads because it's being referrals and our own organic, social media reach is bringing people to the platform. Brokers are inviting it in. So we're sort of through our testing phase now, and it's now to push on and chase the vision of becoming a digital network. So for that, we'll go to venture capitalists, go to outside investors to try and raise the money to go, this is what we're going to do. And fingers crossed they believe in it. And if they do, that's when it'll get very exciting.
Exciting times ahead, Matt. Honestly, when I know, so we've had a few conversations now, and when we first met up quite a few weeks ago now, the way that you were talking, to say that I'm from the industry, I've been in this industry for far too long, and it's just great to see the sort of the excitement and the passion that you shared when we first sort of had a conversation like this over Teams or whatever it was. And yeah, it was clear to see it was clear to see your passion for getting this up and running and making a real big success of it. And how passionate I am about the industry as well, of shaking the industry up. So it was a great conversation and exciting, and it was just a no-brainer to get you on the podcast so people can understand what the potential is and where the mortgage broker world is going, what the potential is with Mortgage Propeller. And so really, I understand the process. The client completes the fact find to a certain point, upload the documents, picked up by the broker, your business out there. So it's great to see that it is broker centric. Saying that's important, and you see the value of mortgage brokers involved with the whole process. So where Mortgage Propeller is at right now, what's the next step for you? What are you looking for from any broker's point of view? Where's the sort of where you're at with all this then, Matt, now?
But because things went so well, we're sort of at capacity. So, the intention was, let's run a pilot for a fixed period of time, a testing phase, a proof of concept. So actually we're now, brokers that want to test it out will have to go onto a waiting list, which is a nice problem to have in our point of view. So we have a waiting list there. If anybody's interested in trying this out, they can go onto the website, or they can drop me an email. You'll find it all online, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I'll give them a demo of the platform, and then go on to the waiting list. Where we're at now is it's time for us to go to the next stage. It's time for us to look and make progress towards becoming a digital network, whether that's going to be as an appointed representative of a network of our own, of someone, or begin the FCA authorization process. We're definitely going to be needing investment to make all the dreams come true that we want to. So, in a startup journey, after you've done what's known as the pre-seed, you've raised your money, you've proved your concept on a minimal budget. That's why you have to be enthusiastic, Craig, or otherwise we're going out of business. We've proved it, and we've done pretty well. The industry's got behind us. So now we're out talking to the big boys, the lads that write real checks. I'm sure the broker industry is very well of the people that's trying to put them out of business, try and get rid of the broker. They've all raised large sums of money. So we're on the other side of things. We're looking to raise large sums of money, but to be broker centric. And that's where we're at now. And that's the next journey we're going to go and pursue, a seed raise. Early insight and early feedback is pretty positive. So I suppose, all going well, you'll have me on the podcast at some point in the future talking about the next stage and how we raise this money and what we're going to do for brokers. That, fingers crossed on that there, but I'm pretty confident on it now.
Definitely. No, I've got no doubt at all, Matt, you will be back on this podcast as we all see this journey through with Mortgage Propeller. So fantastic. Anything else to add on Mortgage Propeller before we wrap up?
No, follow us on social media. It all helps. And have a nosy at how we are able to attract people because of our branding being slightly different, and our sort of viewpoint and being a little bit quirky. That'd be useful.
Brilliant. Matt, thank you so much for your time. It's been an exciting few meetings that we've had prior to the podcast, and even better now to get you actually on the podcast and sort of see and hear your passion for Mortgage Propeller and the exciting times ahead, not only for Mortgage Propeller, but also for the mortgage industry and the mortgage broker role, as we know. Fantastic. Thanks, Matt, for your time. Thank you for everyone for listening and subscribing so far. Join me every week, where I'll be sort of developing your knowledge to help you grow your mortgage broker business. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Are you an experienced mortgage advisor who is looking to go alone and set up your own firm? Is owning your own brand and business important to you? Do you keep putting off the decision because you just don't know where to start? Let me explain the My Brand, My Way program. This is aimed at experienced advisors who are looking to go alone and set up their own brand and business. So what does the My Brand, My Way program offer? First of all, you still receive the rates you would as if you went direct to a network, and these also improve as you grow. You pay a monthly fee which includes your compliance, indemnity, CRM and all your licenses. You would still own your own brand, your own clients and your own business, and you're still creating your own legacy. The difference is you get my help, support and coaching in not only setting up your business and brand, I will also help you grow. If that is something of interest to you, please get in touch and so we can arrange an informal discussion.